Hey guys, what's going on? Jimmy the Owl. And Lords of the Fallen dropped a new gameplay trailer a couple of days ago, probably a few days ago, probably a week ago by the time this video comes out. And yeah, they also dropped the death from their name, because consistency is one thing this series of games cannot fucking have, apparently. Is just some sort of consistency would be nice, team. Why the fuck did we drop the death? It is literally the only way to distinguish both games from each other. Now anytime someone types Lord of the Fallen in, they're gonna ever get, maybe hopefully, the good one. Looks like it's gonna be good. Or the one I played, which is something. Don't know if you want to call it a game, it was definitely something. But yeah, Lords of the Fallen looks like it's gonna be a good game. Bad pre-orders though, and deluxe editions. Hiding a class behind a deluxe edition, that's a no-no for me. But I'll digress on that one. We'll get into all that at the end of this video. Let's focus on Lords of the Fallen, the old one, for this video. So I kind of thought, I don't know what the fuck they're doing anymore. I thought The Lords of the Fallen was a sequel to Lords of the Fallen. I don't know if it is anymore. I think it might be a reboot, but in case it's not, I played through the whole of the first game, just to make sure that I don't miss anything. Granted, I didn't absorb any of the information, and I still don't understand what's going on. I do remember the main character's name, Harken. That's the one thing I do know. But we can go on a little adventure. Let's have a little adventure through Lords of the Fallen. I've already forgotten the name of the place it takes the area it takes place in. From start to finish, we're going to take a little journey. This is the long video, I promise. We're going to take a little journey through Lords of the Fallen, see how the game holds, see whether the sequel can make changes, and see what the sequel should keep. Without further ado, let's get into it. Lords of the Fallen. For those of you who don't know what Lords of the Fallen is the first proper Souls-like game that wasn't made by From Software. I think most people say it is like the original Souls-like game that wasn't made by them, and it really does show that it doesn't have that FromSoft polish or the world building and like attention to detail that you see in those kind of games. It does have the combat, it does have the bosses, the weapons, the builds, the stat page, the souls, XP loss and stuff. There's some really unique things they do in that game that we'll get into. But the simple way to put it, it is just the first Souls-like not made by From Software. And yeah, it does show. So now that we know what Lords of the Fallen is, let's just get into the nitty gritty. First things first, comes character creation, which doesn't exist because Harken is our main protagonist. He is the one and only guy you can play as in this game. He looks alright. He's just a bald guy with tattoos on his face. He's a criminal that gets let out because the Rhogar are going wild on the situation and they need brutal people to stop him. I don't think you ever find out why he's actually in prison. They just say his brutality and his crime put him there, but you never find out his crime. I don't think. Maybe there's a side quest that shows it, or explains it, but I never found why he was put in there in the first place. So that's Harken for you. The other thing in character creation you can actually do is the class and magic setup. Magic comes under blue, red, and green. One for rogue, one for cleric, one for warrior. You don't have to take them depending on the class. You can take the other one if you want. But I guess the developers kind of lead you down a path that they think works best with the class. For example, you can play a cleric with green spells, I'm pretty sure. Like, it won't stop you from doing so. But that's a different story for a different day. I played rogue because I didn't want to play warrior or cleric. I've tried both of them, and heavy weapons just don't feel very nice in this game for me for some reason. I don't know if I just don't find the right heavy weapon or I give up too early, but I never get far as free bosses in this game because it fucking pisses me off. So I thought Dex might be a good switch up to get us there to begin with. After we've done character creation, we've got our daggers, we go straight into the tutorial. So I completely forget this cutscene exists because it just has no bearing on anything and actually ruins one of the good parts of the game at the end for no reason at all. Good job, team. So pretty much the cutscene just shows Harken fighting Rhogar, Harken gets hammer, Harken uses magic, Rhogar bows because Meteor comes down. I have no clue what any of this has to do with the game, and the game doesn't because it just hits you with a different war, a different time at the end of this cutscene and ruins one big thing. The mountain is an actual hand of God that is a Rhogar god. It is just a giant hand. It's not mountains. Now,
that's a cool thing to show at the beginning, but then they do it at the end of the game as well. So the one cool thing they had going through this game, the mountains that you see in the distance aren't actually mountains but fingers of a giant Rogar god, gets ruined at the beginning of the game for no fucking reason at all. Kills all cool moments of that happening at the end of the game just for no reason. So dumb, so stupid. Like, this cutscene shouldn't be in the beginning of the game. So, I hate it so much. If there's a reason, please let me know. Lords of the Fallen fans, please let me know why this exists. I can't find a reason. It makes no sense.
So, technically, there is a tutorial. I just skipped it by accident. See, I was under the impression that B meant to not skip the tutorial, but get to the next step of it. Just completely skipped the whole tutorial, so I had to learn all the controls myself. One of the big, like, weird things was healing. You have to hold the button to heal, because if you don't, you instead switch to the next item in your inventory. Really weird control design. Also, dual wielding is a mastermind of stupidity. I can't fit. It's a cool system, I just don't think it works properly. I had to Google it because obviously I skipped the tutorial, but by looking how people also struggled and people had to explain it, I don't think it's in the tutorial either. There is a cool system where perfectly timed attacks will enter into like a flurry attack mode, where you do big damage and quick attacks over time, normally staggering the enemy. Cool stuff. Problem was, I could never get it consistently to go off. Half the time, it went off randomly, which I didn't mean to do. I originally thought while playing through the tutorial, I had to hold the attack buttons down. So I would hold, and then the final hold would be the flurry attack. And I was like, okay. Apparently that was helping me time it, but it was I never consistently timed it well. I would hold it for random periods of time. So I don't know what the time frame for a perfect attack is, but it exists. Eventually I realized I could just spam L1 R1 with a dual wield weapon and be perfectly fine. I don't need the flurry attacks. They are powerful, but the inconsistency of them just doesn't make them very worthwhile trying to pull off. So that is how dual wielding works in this game. It's a cool concept. I hope they bring it back in the second one, but make it more consistent. I like the idea that there's a room to be a better player like that. I always like stuff that, like, I can get by doing bare minimum, but like if I learned how to do these perfectly timed attacks, I would absolutely devastate the battlefield. I like stuff like that. It just doesn't seem very well executed in this game. With this tutorial, will take you all the way to the first boss. This boss does well to set up for the game's later bosses. It shows you exactly what you're going to be up against, how this game is going to work, and how these boss fights are going to go. First thing that you'll notice this boss teaches you is that bosses have sectioned health bars to show you when they go into the next phase. Some people might not like this. I was a big fan of this. I liked knowing exactly when the next phase was going to happen, so I had more time to prepare, especially if it was a phase I was struggling with. I knew that I'm about to enter it and I really need to prepare myself for this next section. It is a nice little quality of life change, in my opinion, that helps you go on. And the first boss instantly. The first boss itself isn't anything special. It is just a guy with a sword and shield doing his sword and shield things. Now, this is the second part of what the game will teach you if you do it right. So the one cool thing this game has going for it over every other Souls game I've ever played is that there's two versions to every boss weapon in the game. The one you get for just beating the boss, and the one you get for beating the boss in a special way. For example, beating this boss without getting hit, it's actually taking damage. You can get hit by the shield and the knockback and it doesn't count. It's just don't take damage during this boss fight, and you get a different version of his weapon where when one-handed heavy attack will send a blast down, like just down the center. And I think this is an amazing idea, and I really hope this returns in the second game. It does force a lot of gimmick boss fights so that you can try and fight against the gimmick in some instances, but it's a fucking cool change that like makes it different from the rest of the games that I've played that are Souls-like. But I didn't end up getting this weapon because I didn't want to reset constantly trying to get it. I couldn't care less.
So I just went in there, wailed on him, and killed him pretty quickly. But it does show a precedence that, like, if you figure out what the gimmick is, you can go against the gimmick and win. I do think some of them aren't very obvious, and I did a lot by accident. One of them's bugged, but it is probably the best thing this game introduces during boss fights, is 2 boss weapons, one for this beating the boss, or the more upgraded version for beating him in a special. Anyway, with that being said, this boss doesn't pose a threat, and he just goes down without a fucking fight. We have to go find the random old guy with a stick. He needs our help. He is wounded, so off we trot to go find him. So the 2 things you're gonna find while going through the actual world the game's going to teach you straight off the bat is, 1, you can store XP to level up. You don't have to have the exact amount. I like this. Also, the risk reward system, instead of just being go out, kill, get XP, come back, level up, the way this game does it is, the longer more enemies you kill, the better the XP gains get. It keeps going up and up until you rest at a bonfire, and then it resets, and then you can start again on getting the modifier to go back up. I do like this. It rewards a good playstyle. If you get skilled enough to go through these areas without taking any damage or taking little damage and using little heals, you can get your XP modifier up pretty decently to a point where you'll be getting double the souls. And I feel like that's a really cool way to do it. It's hampered by its downside, which I'll get into in a minute, but the 2 things that I hope to see in the sequel, or the next game, would be the XP modifier. I think that's really cool, and the XP storage. Instead of having to go back with the set amount, for example, if I need 3,000 souls, I have 2,000. In every other Souls game I've ever played, you need to go get that 1,000 before you can level up. In this one, you can store the XP. So you can go into the bonfire and store your XP all the way to 2,000, and then when you get 1,000 again, you can go back, store that, and then you'll get 1 level up. I like this system simply because when it gets to the later half of the game and you need like 7,000 XP to level up, being able to store a good chunk of XP makes it so much nicer to go through the game not holding 100 billion bajillion XP on me. I can just go in, store what I want, and leave. I do like that. It's a quality of life thing again that I just like a lot. Except the downside is fucking irritating. Trying to get your souls back in a Souls-like game is a stressful endeavor already, but I feel like it has a very good thing of teaching you how to play the game. You go through the level, you get killed by something, and then you fight your way back there. You have more Estus because you understand those enemies more. You get to the thing that killed you, and then you try again. Eventually, when you down it, you know how to beat them, how to fight them, and you feel like you've accomplished something. And you have, like, double the XP that you went in with doing so, because you had to re-clear the area. So you've kind of leveled up past this point now. You get a bit extra for your troubles. What I don't like is in Lords of the Fallen, for some fucking odd reason, the developers thought it would be a good idea to put a timer on soul collection. So that means I've got to make a run instead of fighting if I want to get all my souls back. So this gives you 2 options. You can try and make some of your souls back and come out with a positive by clearing the area but getting a very limited supply of your souls back, or you make the run and hope you get a majority of them back. I don't like this approach. It forces a run-through narrative when you lose your souls. You feel like you better bolt to them instead of fight to them, because you might as well try and grab all your souls instead of half your souls. I don't know. I just don't like this option. You could argue it's to balance out the risk-reward, to make the risk equal the reward of getting that bonus XP. But seeming that it doesn't really matter if I take the bonus XP or not, I still have to contend with this. It doesn't balance out a normal risk-reward soul system. Also, the loss of souls seems random as fuck. Sometimes I'll die and it takes forever to start counting down. Sometimes I die and it takes fucking 2 seconds before I'm at 98, 97, 96%. I don't understand that. Like, it makes no sense in the slightest. I don't like this system at all. This is one of the systems I hope just doesn't make a comeback at all, period. It's so bad.
Anyway, after all that, we will find the magical gauntlet. This is how we use magic in this game. Never tried it, don't think I ever will try using it consistently ever. But this is how you use it. This is how they wiggle magic into it. It's in a gauntlet that you wield. You just press Y on the controller once again to switch between now either shield, two-handing a weapon, or gauntlet. If you de-equip your shield, it's just two-handing and a gauntlet. From the magic gauntlet, the boss fight's just around the corner, but before we can fight him, we've got to deal with a woman trying to push a monk off the monastery. Does she know women aren't allowed in the monastery? Harkin will let her know that. She was one of the only side quests I actually got around to completing. The problem was I had with the side quests where I didn't feel like exploring the world. There was no interest to do so. Unlike any other Souls game I play, this one has like that Metrovania backtracking system in it, where you got to remember where things were and where you want to go after you get the points of fast travel, which is going through doors and stuff. The whole world is connected by doors and demon fucking doors as well. Just, it's all weird how everything connects, and it doesn't make it feel nice traversing the areas and going back to these old places and whatnot. So I ended up, any side quest that wasn't on the main quest track kind of just fell through towards the end of the game, simply because I didn't want to try and traverse the world. It wasn't interesting enough and it wasn't friendly enough to do so. It just ended up becoming a headache trying to explore the areas, so eventually I just kind of beelined the main game and just ignored everything else. Especially once I found out there's literally no side bosses in this game, so no point. You might as well just run to the end. So this is why you'll only see her through the majority of the game's side quest portion of the video, simply because I didn't do any of the others, and no side bosses meant I didn't explore as much even near the end. But that's that. So back to present day, we give her daggers because I thought they were a quest item that she wanted, not the actual daggers I had equipped. So I ended up giving her the daggers I had equipped. So I had to go into the boss with my downgraded daggers now, because I thought they were a quest item, and nope, they're just the ones I was using. I kind of thought it would have told me that they were a weapon I had, instead of like, are you sure you want to give your weapons away or something? But no, you just get a yes or no option. I said yes, you can take them, and I lost my daggers. So I had to go in with the basic bitch daggers that you start with, which is annoying, but it is what it is. Straight into the boss fight, Commander is next. He has his challenge, which is defeating the boss without blocking, which is very easy for us to do, seeing we haven't got a shield equipped. The boss has no threat whatsoever. He has one move that I ever fucking see him do, which he slams his shield down into the ground, which gives you easy hits for days. And then once you get him to his health bar strangle points, he summons in adds, which are easily dispatched, so it doesn't really matter. And then he just dies, pretty much. You just rinse and repeat till he dies. Killing him without blocking will give you his shield, but with his little cool move where he fires all the shields out around him, which is interesting. This is what I mean by the challenges to get boss weapons better is cool and interesting, because that is a cool ability to have on a shield, to just have multiple shields surround you and then fire off. I like it, it's really cool. But that is the Commander, an easy boss fight, if you will. I'll point this out now because I didn't do it before. Every time you beat a boss, Harkin absorbs the Rhogar Lord's soul into him or something. He gets blasted by the rays and balls of fire or whatever the fuck he's supposed to be doing in these cutscenes. It plays a part at the end, so I thought I would mention it now. The next destination on our travel book will be the graveyard, so we can go help the old man with a stick that is wounded and needs our help. So to make our way there, we've got to run like the wind. There's a couple of easy backstabs laid out for you straight once you go up the stairs from the original boss fight. There is not much distance traveled from this boss fight to the next one. There's a shortcut that I unlock eventually, but I'll get to that in a minute. But the one thing I do want to point out is there's an area that I've never been to. It's behind the guy with a shield. He has a shield, a sword, and he one-hits me. I've never been down there, and I still haven't been down there. You come back to this area later on in the game. Like I said, it's kind of like a Metrovania kind of layout where you come back to the old beginning areas eventually. And I still didn't go down here, even though I think I should have, but I completely forgot about it, so that's just a lost cause. Also, I lost 5k souls out of the desperate attempt to not lose 5k souls. I didn't clear the area out, I just kept running because I didn't want to lose my souls, and then I lost my souls because of it, so that was fun. That's why I hate the fucking system. It sucks. Anyway, a quick hop, skip, jump, shortcut unlocked later, and we are at the graveyard with the old man, who says there is another Rogar log in the actual graves places. He is called the Worshipper, and we'll get on to him now. The Worshipper is very gimmicky in some aspects, but not a lot. I think this is one of the ones where the gimmicks work well. I think after this, the gimmicks start to kind of overpool into being Demon Souls levels of this. Every boss is just a gimmick, and you just fight the gimmick instead of the boss. This one has some gimmicks, but they don't make the boss fight. So his challenge, what is it? I didn't look up his challenge and I completely forgot what it was, but it was have him kill 2 of his own minions, which realistically is a harder challenge to fail than it is to succeed, because just running around and fighting him, he will just accidentally swing at his minions. Also, the gimmick to his fight is the minion spawning. Also, he has a move which will just like explode over the whole arena, and you gotta go stand in these little buildings and wait it out, and when he explodes you don't get hit if you're in the buildings, but it does just kill his minions outright, and he summons 2 at a time, so that's an easy way to get that done. Also, there is a little gimmick where if he attacks those buildings, it will stun him from a period of time. He gets stunned from doing that when he destroys them. They're the gimmicks of the fight. Pretty simple stuff. The fight overall didn't take me many goes. Like, I've done this fight before, so it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, it's a fun fight. It's not terrible in any sense of the imagination. I would argue that it's a bit easy, but it's the first 3 bosses of the game, so I expect them to be easy. And the next part of the game isn't going to be too nice to me, so it is what it is. From here, you have the choice to go into the crypt where you're not supposed to be at this point, or you go back to the old man and speak to her, where the woman will now show up as well to tell you that she needs to be in that portal just as much as you do. And the next place we go is the portal to the Rogar area, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. You got to go into the portal to try and stop the enemies coming out of the portals, because if the Rogar lords keep coming out of the portals, you're not going to win the fight. So you got to go into their domain to stop them coming out of their domain. Weird stuff. I don't really get it, but that's the kind of gist you find yourself in. So through the portal we go. From here, we'll find a cool guy. This is the coolest design in the game and a cool idea in general. This is our blacksmith of the game, and this is how they make him a universal blacksmith of a person that is no longer part of any realm. He is just a entity that exists against time and space, and he can just be anywhere at any time. So anytime you go to an anvil and click on it, he like fucking teleports you to his dimension, and that's how you do all your crafting. The crafting system is pretty decent, I would argue. Certain weapons have weapon slots, and how these weapon slots work is you can either crack a small one or a big one. Small ones are 200 XP, and a big one is 1000 XP, or maybe 500, 1000. Actually, now I think about it a bit better. 500 XP, 1000 XP, and you will get a buff to your weapon. For example, I only did a couple of them because I didn't really use my XP to open them that much, and I got bonus physical damage, bonus magic damage, bonus fire damage, and you could just slot those into your weapons if they had a slot for the, I guess, gems I would call them, or magic seals I think they're actually called. If you put your magic seal in them, it buffs your weapon. It's a nice little system, and it makes it so that weapons can be buffed and changed accordingly. The only problem is that none of the boss weapons had a slot in them, so they kind of felt worthless to a degree. Like, they felt less worth than the other weapons that just had slots in them. I don't know if I New Game Plus and go through again, they'll have slots. I don't know if the slots are random or not. I haven't got a fucking clue in the slightest. But it kind of sucked that, especially, I will get into this later on, there is a certain part of the game that requires it for a certain ending. I'll get into that later on. it kind of picks and chooses what weapons you can use based on what you can put into your weapons. Because your weapon will only go so far because you can't upgrade them. This is your way of upgrading them. If they don't have these slots, you can't get them any better than they currently are. So the system is flawed but good. I just wish every weapon had a slot to start with, and then maybe certain weapons could have 2 slots and stuff, and like trying to match it with the damage and whatnot, just to make it thingy. It generally did feel like weapons as we went through the game progressed better and better, but they definitely didn't have the Souls level of every weapon can be used to a good effect sort of style, which is kind of saddening, but it is what it is, I guess. Anyway, back to Portal Land. I don't like this area. This is where I quit every single time. I never know where I'm going. All the enemies are jacked up to 10,000. None of them are easy to fight. Everything's annoying. Like, the difficulty spike is insane. Well, I don't understand. Like, the first 3 bosses and areas are, like, doable and somewhat annoying, but nothing's like, I don't want to play no more. This area has made me quit no less than like 6 to 7 times. I hate the portal. It's so bad. It's all generic looking demon stuff. There's some cool enemy designs, but then the worst enemies of all time are introduced. The mages suck dick. The fat guys with crossbows suck dick. The ultra beef, ultra buffed sword and shield guys are dickheads. Just everything fucking stinks in this area. All the enemies they introduce just annoy me. I don't like this area through and through. Eventually, I've never known where to go. I always get lost. Eventually, I found out there's been this one pathway. This was my fault, I would argue. One pathway right off the corner of my eye that I've always missed. That'll take me to where I need to go, towards the boss. For some reason, they thought it would be totes hilarious to have a crossbow guy on the run to the boss from the bonfire that is right next to it. Most of the boss runs in this game are like not bad at all. Like, it's some of the best boss runs I've had in games in a while. They are normally located right outside the boss room or close enough to it that it doesn't become a bother. Some of them have enemies in front of them, which is irritating, but like they normally don't pose a threat. Crossbow people have like aim hacks and always hit me for some reason, so that's why this crossbow guy annoys the crap out of me. But he's there and there's not much I can do about it. The next box is the Infiltrator, and I don't like it. So what is the challenge for this boss, you may ask? Well, apparently, according to the wiki, it cannot be failed. It's currently bugged. You gotta defeat the boss without the crippled Rogol lighting all the torches at the top of the portal. I have no clue what this means. I didn't even see this happening. I don't even know if this is currently happening or not. I don't know if he lights one of them and then gets stuck, or if he doesn't like the last one or whatever. I have not got a fucking clue. I have no idea what this is on about. But the boss fight itself stinks. It is a long burner of a fight that isn't fun in the slightest, has healing mechanics and magic drain involved. Overall, the fight is just not for me. It's so boring, dude. A lot of these fights, they're either really quick and not challenging at all, but challenging but slow, which normally means you get stuck in a 2-move cycle and it gets boring fast. And this is one of them. You can attack when he does a slam down and his little spiky spike stab, which he only does in second phase. And you just do that and you do minimal to like no damage to him. It is very, very slow and tedious. The biggest complaint I have is I still don't understand how to stop his healing. No fucking clue. I tried destroying them, but you don't have time, and you're also being attacked, so it doesn't really work out. If you don't destroy them fast enough, he heals from them. If you do try and destroy them fast enough, you don't destroy them all before he tries to heal from them, because you still got to dodge his attacks. If you don't destroy them fast enough as well, they turn into grabbers and grab you, so you get killed. So in the end, I just ignored them. The boss fight is easy enough to take no damage, realistically, by just dodging his attacks. They're very choreographed. And just take the damage while he's healing, because while he's healing, he does AoE damage for some reason. So I just would tank that damage and just attack him while he's healing so that I could try and fucking kill him. Because the boss fight is so fucking boring. This whole fucking area is so boringly shit and terrible. I hate it. I don't like it in the slightest. After fighting the boss, that girl that followed us in, and is the side quest portion of the game for me, tells us it's impressive and then speaks a bullshit about me doing other things for her, seeming I'm her lackey apparently, and we move forward. I take another side quest to give a Rogar guy some skulls. I give him one skull and he never sees me again because my ass never comes back in here to go all the way towards him ever again. So there's that. We pretty much leave. While trying to leave, because you gotta run all the way back to the beginning of the level, I hate the fucking portal. You find some soldiers that have jumped through a portal to escape the Rogar assaulting the bridge. They are technically deserters. There's a side quest to kill them. I don't, because I don't want to, and also going back there to kill them sounded like effort, so I didn't do it. Also, the guy that gives you a quest is a dick, so I don't like him. Except from that, it's literally just run all the way back to the end, and we're heading towards the crypt as our next place to be. This level also stinks. It's so bad. Like, I don't get how, like, the two next areas, the portal and just the crypts, are terrible places to be. Like, they're so bad. The crypts and the cell circles in conjunction with each other, they're all connected in that one area, have the sword guys, the sword and shield big beefy guys that one-shot in narrow fucking hallways. Why is this a thing? You can fucking throw them down the hole. I get to kill one in the big hole. Everyone else is just an irritation with me, because I haven't figured out how to kill them yet. The only way I found out to kill them is just keep bashing at their shield until they stagger and get one hit in, and then get out the way. I don't like fighting these enemies. It's boring and tedious. I think what you're supposed to do is have a shield equipped and block their attack, giving you stagger chance to swing, but I didn't have a shield equipped because I didn't want to play with a shield. I shouldn't be forced to play with a shield to attack one enemy. That shouldn't be how it works. If there's a better way to attack these, then sure. Tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm an idiot. I couldn't figure out how to fight these. So this whole area is me just sprinting around like a madman trying to avoid these fuckers until I get to the boss, find out I've missed the lever for the boss, so I've got to run all the way back around to try and figure out what I've missed. Once I find the lever, do my second side quest of the night, choosing which one dies and lives. If while you're going through the level, you'll find voice recordings that say that the two people have been thrown in prison, both saying the other's a murderer. You find them in their cells with a Rogar asleep behind them. How they got in that predicament, I will never understand. You get to choose which one lives, which one dies pretty much, and you get an item from both enemies. So I have no clue if there's a way to tell which one's the actual murderer or not. Probably if you listen to all the books you can tell it, but I couldn't for the life of me. So I just picked someone random and the other one died. Hit the lever, went back down to the boss fight, which has a shield guy and a pokey sword blocking a hallway and a spider before you can get into the boss fight, which is an annoyance, but they're easy to run past, and then we get to fight the champion. The champion has a unique challenge that I really did enjoy doing, and he's the first boss that introduces the status bar below their health bar. For the champion, this means it's his enrage bar. When he gets enraged, he'll get fire on his weapons and he'll do bonus damage. The challenge is to not enrage him. How you enrage him is very simple. By hitting him, you'll get it increased slowly. If he hits you, he'll increase it by chunks. Every time you get him into a new phase, he will just enrage automatically, but this doesn't go against the challenge. So this slows down the fight and makes it a lot more challenging to do this challenge, simply because I needed to, because he has a fist weapon and I thought it was going to be a big upgrade compared to my normal weaponry I was using. So I ended up having to take this fight slow and steady, and anytime I enraged him I had to just take the L and die just to restart the fight. But this is what I mean when I want to see it in the second game. As much as the enrage is a bit of a gimmick that doesn't really affect the fight that much, when you put the challenge on top of it, it changes the fight dramatically, and you have to approach it in a different light. Because overall, this boss isn't anything special, but because I've got to approach it differently from just whacking him to death as fast as possible, to timing my attacks and pacing myself so I don't enrage the fella, it increases the value of play for me. It just makes it a much more interesting fight.
Overall, like I said, there's nothing special to say about this fight. It's not hard and it doesn't take long to do. If you go for the challenge, it'll take a bit longer, especially when you hit the final phase and you lose one of your easy attacks to attack him on. It just becomes an even longer fight to try and enrage the boy. But eventually he does go down and we get the fist weapons, and their bonuses when on low health, they go on fire, and you really don't ever use them. I didn't use them like once in the whole game because the stick I had by this point was much better. As you can see, as I progress through the game, my weapons are constantly changing because the next weapon I normally find is better than the last. That's what I mean by it's not really a Souls-like game and every weapon is usable. Normally the weapons I keep finding later on are better than the weapons I normally have. Eventually, the champion does fall, and I absorb all of his Rogar Lord energy. From here, we now can enter the Citadel, where the old man with his funny stick are no longer injured because he got healed, and I forgot to mention that before. And his old jolly friends will be sitting, as well as that dickhead that I don't like from before, that tries to give me a quest to kill his men because they deserted a post because Rogar are Rogar. Anyway, this area isn't too bad. It's literally just kill Rogar to fight your way to the top of the Citadel. I mean, it's literally the quest on the top of the screen. You can't ignore the fucking thing. It's right there. There's not much to talk about. It's literally just run up the fucking Citadel as fast as possible. I try to fight my way through in the beginning, and then they slam up some sword and shield guys with the bulky armor and the stupid bullshit that I don't like fighting. So eventually I just book it all the way up to the top, which shows how bad the AI is, because eventually they're just like, well shit, he's in a corner, we can't fight him here, he's past our jurisdiction, everyone back down the stairs, which initiates the cutscene to teleport the Rogar out of the Citadel, because I definitely fought my way to the top. So once you go all the way up to the top of the Citadel, you'll find Old Man with Pointy Stick, who will talk to you about Artanis. This is the guy that sent us to prison in the first place and the big head honcho of this realm that we reside in. He says that he will reveal his plan to us once we clear out the Planetarium, which is our next location, and you can't just run to the end of this one, you actually have to clear out all the enemies, so that was fun. Not too many annoying enemies here, there's only one big guy with a sword, and one magic guy. Everyone else is easy pickings from there. Finishes off at the very top of the Planetarium with the first boss you ever fight being up there, the Warden just doing his little Warden things. You just kill him very quickly now because he's treated as a normal enemy, kind of showing you the progression you've made through the game. He's the only guy that ever shows up that was a boss that is no longer a boss sort of deal. He's the only guy that does this. So it shows you how much progress you've made from the beginning of the game, and then you can finally speak to Artanis and the old guy with Pointy Stick in the Planetarium. Also, I want to point out, I managed to get the guy with the shield just stuck like this. I don't know how I managed this in the slightest. He is just stuck like that. That's how I cleared this area very easily because of this. I don't know what happened here. I'm not going to question what happened here. I'm just taking the victory. Face to face with Artanis, you can finally question him about why you would work for him because he threw you in prison, yada yada yada. His plan is pretty much, let's go kill a god, let's go team. So that's kind of the idea. You got to kill the last of the Rogar gods. That's the next part of our plan. And then we go fight the Rogar god, and then the game should end, is the premise we're running on now. There's some Shyamalan plot twists coming up, if you will, but that is the general premise we're working with now, so we are going to go get that shit done. Before we leave, the old guy with a stick says there's something strange going on here and he's going to keep tabs. This never gets brought up again. I don't know if that was a hint at a side quest I just missed or something, but he literally pulls you to the side and goes, something strange is going on here, I'm going to keep an eye out on it. And then it's never brought up again, and then you get a bit of a twist on who he actually is. So, I don't know. It seems very fishy that that's in the game. Don't understand it in the slightest. I guess it might be a hint towards the end of the game, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Now that our gauntlet is imbued with the magical magic to open doors that have been sealed away from us the last, 5 hours of this game so far, it's time to open these doors to go to these Chambers of Lies. To get there first, we need to fight the next boss on our list, which is the Beast, which is fought right in the area we fought the Commander, which is what I'm on about now. The world connectivity is opened up dramatically, where we can start taking these doorways to places that we've been to before. The problem is I just don't care enough at this point and want to finish the game.
game. Now, funnily enough, right, this boggled my mind. The Beast's challenge is defeat the boss without stepping in any poison puddles. Now, if you fight him off bat and beat him first try, he will never once use the poison pools. And in the fight that I won against him, he didn't once use the poison pools. What kind of fucking challenge is this? He has a gimmick where to actually deal damage to him, he has a bar under his health. Hitting him in the legs progresses the bar. When the bar is full, he falls over, you twat him in the face. He doesn't work as many big bosses would. You can't roll through his legs half the time. It's very iffy. Eventually, I got down how you're supposed to fight him. You're supposed to delay roll to the side of him. It's very awkward. I don't like it. When you do towering boss fights, they have to be done in a specific way or they feel clunky. This one generally did feel clunky, but it was a cool idea executed poorly. I don't even know what he gave. I think he gives a big rune and something, I'm pretty sure. It's a weapon I probably didn't end up using in the end. But yeah, the boss fight kind of stank. It goes on for a while because most of it is you just twatting his legs, trying to get him to fall. Once he falls, run to his head, twat his head, hit his legs, twat his head, hit his legs, twat his head, rinse, repeat till he falls to the ground, rendering him pointless and worthless. And I really wish he just wasn't in the game because he just doesn't do anything for the game. Next up, we gotta go back to the portal area to fight the Guardian. Now, granted, when you do get to the area and go through, you gotta run all the way back. They've added some enemies in for some reason to get back to the graveyard. Thanks, game. Really appreciate that. Once you do get there, you've gotta go through the portal again that you normally went through. And this time, it does a little cinematic, panning you all the way to the boss. They added one enemy on the way there for some reason. Of course, it's a magic enemy that pisses me off royally because I don't like them. They're annoying. And then you get to fight the boss. There's a bonfire right outside it, like there has been for every other boss so far, which is very nice. I do like that aspect of the game. And we get to fight the Guardian, probably my favorite fight within the game. Now, the Guardian's challenge is defeat the boss without knocking any cauldrons over. I kind of now understand why the area kind of resembles a boss arena, because it is later on. That was an interesting idea that I didn't realize at the time. Also, I always wondered why all the cauldrons were lit on fire. I thought they were just torches to begin with, but they're calling them cauldrons, so I'll call them what they're actually called. And to be honest, I didn't even know you could put them out or knock them over. I thought the fireballs were just part of the fight. I didn't know that was a gimmick to knock over the cauldrons, or a mechanic, I guess. I don't know if you call them mechanics or gimmicks. I normally just end up calling them gimmicks because that's what they boil down to. But yeah, I didn't know that at the time, so that was kind of interesting to say the least. I kind of just, like, towards the end, I kind of just started unlocking these by accident, not knowing what they were, which was interesting to me. The only one I looked up during my playthrough was the champion, because I saw his fist weapons and was like, I should probably see how I get the better version of them. Everyone else after that, I did not look up in the slightest. The Guardian being one of my favorite fights, probably my favorite out of everyone in the game, probably, except from the last one, but the last boss has its problems. He's fast, he's relentless, but he's also fair and keeps within the slow pace of the game. Because they speed him up, though, it feels like there's a challenge in there. Eventually, I got a rhythm down where he didn't do a lot. But, like, when you first go in there, you're like, damn, this guy is moving quick and is doing some stuff. And he's, like, relentless attacking with his dual swords. He seems like he's going to be a bit of a problem. Eventually he's not, and his fireballs from the cauldrons don't do a lot. They're very telegraphed and easy to dodge. But overall, the fight is probably the most enjoyable one in the game. I can't think of a one that, like, steps above this one. I think after this, the next boss is meh. The next boss after that is terrible, and the final boss is meh. So I think, in terms of quality, it definitely, Champion was fun. The Beast was meh. I don't see why it was in the game. It doesn't really do much for me. And then the Guardian is peak, and then it just goes downhill from there. So, but yeah, this boss was really fun. I really do like it. The gameplay kind of peaks here. The combat, the dodging, the movement, it all ties together nicely within this one boss fight. I have no clue how Lords of the Fallen fans see these bosses.
in the slightest. So I could be calling the worst boss in Lords of the Fallen my favorite, but goddamn, the Guardian seems cool. He has cool weapons, cool design, cool area, fireballs, quick movement, quick attacks. He's coming at you with all speeds. I like him. He's really fun. But eventually he does go down, letting us move to the Chambers of Lies, which Sweet Bippy might be my most hated area in this game. I can't think of an area I hate more. Maybe actually I'll save that for the crypt. I hate that area. Never mind. Second worst area in the game is the Chamber of Lies. So this whole area is about flipping switches. And that's the premise. Also, it has the end to the side quest, the only side quest I was able to complete. Technically, I completed 2, but one of them was on complete accident. Technically, this one was by complete accident, but we'll let it slide. Also, just before we go any further, I don't know, but I think you can skip the Guardian boss fight. I don't think it's, like, actually a needed boss, because the girl for this side quest will show you a different way to get into the Chambers of Lies. So I don't know if the Guardian is a skippable fight. I have to assume that you could skip it, seeming it's not. Maybe you can't. I don't know. Maybe you can't. I never went her way, so I don't know how it would work if you went her way. Maybe you couldn't get to the other side, but I don't see how that would be a possibility or not. Either way, maybe the Guardian is skippable, but we can finish her side quest here, as well as find the Annihilator boss by flipping some switches. So to get to the Annihilator, you've got to pull 3 switches. One on your side, one on the side that the woman lets you in on, and the one where she finishes her quest. The problem is, to get to these things, you got to go through bumfuck dickery the enemies. Like, I hate them all. They're all terrible enemies. The only ones that aren't annoying are the spiders. And that's like and the roly-poly barbed wire guys. They're the only 2 annoying enemies they put in this area. Everyone else is irritating as fuck. Because there's the enemies next to the bonfire that aren't hard, but they're next to a bonfire, so if I ever want to run back to get my shit back, I've got to defeat them. Annoying as fuck. They put mages around every corner, but they're not as bad anymore because we can actually kill them in one rotation. Sad thing is, they added wraiths, which is mages on crack and they take no damage. Thanks, team. And they just teleport around, so you can't outrun them ever. They'll just teleport to your location. Thanks, team. Then they added in a buttfuck of people who just regen their health if you don't destroy their crystal, like, glass thing, like their vase, I think you would call it. If you don't destroy that, they regen their health. Thanks, team. Like, why is all this shit there? Why? And also, they added in exploded roly-poly rock dogs in an area that has fucking ledges everywhere, so if they roly-poly explode next to you, 90% of the chance you're gonna fly backwards off the fucking map. Even if you don't land off the map, all the platforms on the side have falling mechanics, so just let them drop to their doom. I hate this area. No fun to be had. So I quickly bolt around after a bit of trying. I just quickly bolt around and hit the switches. I could not care less anymore. And then I can finally finish her side quest, which is this big massive demon, which I did, and it seems like a lot of people online thought was the Annihilator boss, because you have a choice to kill it or let it live, and I didn't know which one to choose, so I looked it up. Turns out that's not the boss, that's just how you finish her quest line. So I let him live, she teleports to her family, bada bing bada boom, quest done. That's an extra slideshow added to the ending slideshow of cutscenes. Next on our list is to actually go fight the boss, so we go towards where she let us in and we can go fight him. This boss fight is boring as shit. He gets stuck doing the one attack that you can punish very easily. Bada bing, bada boom, it goes down. Like, there's no fucking challenge here. There's literally no challenge here. Once I found out he has this one move and how to punish it, he's done for. He literally doesn't stand a chance. It is unbelievably unfair how bad he is as a boss. Just, it's not fun because he doesn't pose a threat. It's not fun as well because even when he doesn't pose a threat, it's only one move, so I'm not trying to dodge differently. I'm dodging the same way every single time. Kind of reminds me of like a Dark Souls 2-esque, like just keep walking to the side boss fight. As much as I love Dark Souls 2, it does have a problem in those boss fights, but
Yeah, this boss fight just sucks. I'm not even gonna give him the time of day and like explain. The challenge is get the final blow on this boss with a lightning weapon, and I guess it gives you a lightning weapon in return. Bada bing, bada boom. Fight's over. Fight's done. We've got to go back to the Citadel. But before we can go back to the Citadel, we've got to go fight the Rogue God. Sadly, you don't fight him. You find out that he's just here to talk to you. But this is a cool thing. It doesn't do it for all the bosses, which was what I was really disappointed in. If they were going to do this, I really wish they went through each and every boss you fought. They do the main kind of big bosses that you fight, and they tell you how long it took to beat them, how many attempts you took, and with what weapon you did it with. This is a cool thing that I really hope is in the next game, but elevated to the next level to show every boss you did and stuff like that. It's a really cool thing. I'm glad it did this, because if not, the exposition dump would have been kind of meh and annoying. But seeing it was showing me cool stuff and giving me items based on my, I'm gonna go with based on my performance. I don't know if that's the truth or not, but it gives you armor based on something or other. It gave me light armor, so maybe it's just the armor you have equipped. It gives you the relative armor to you. I haven't got a fucking clue how it works. But then you get a choice. I don't know if you can kill the god. I couldn't figure out a way to do so. But then you find out Old Man with Pointy Stick isn't actually Old Man with Pointy Stick, but is a defender of the realms or something or another. And like, he's not been truthful with me the whole time, and he let me out because he needed the brutality and such another. It's a weird twist. It came out of left field. I have no clue, because you don't know these people's backstories. So I have no clue how, like, I would have seen that coming in the slightest. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work as a twist, because I barely know the lad. Like, I see him every now and again. It's a weird thing, but yeah. And you get given a rune to destroy Artanis with. Now, this was a problem. My best weapon didn't have a rune slot, so I couldn't equip it. So I instantly lose out on one of the endings. I either A, struggle on the boss fight and use a worse weapon with the rune equipped, or B, I just use a normal weapon and get a different ending. So I had to just use a different weapon for the final boss fight. I didn't want to use... I wanted to use a different weapon, sorry, but I ended up just using my normal weapons because I didn't want to fiddle around trying to do the final boss with a weaker weapon. It didn't seem like a fun idea to me to get that ending that way. But if I ever play through it again, I'll probably try and get that ending. If I have to do the DLC boss, I will probably go for that ending instead. But anyway, we can now start heading back to the Cathedral, or the Citadel, I think it's called, and fight the next boss, the Lost Brothers. A double bubble boss fight! Now, you may be shocked to find out, so far, dual boss fights for me have not been fun. I have not liked a single dual boss fight in a Souls game I've put on the channel. Godskin Duo sucks dick. The man-eaters suck dick. How does this dual boss fight compare to the other ones? Well, thankfully, it's not really a dual boss fight. They fight separately. They both have the field until one of them jumps up to the rafters, and then you can just fight one-on-one. This is how I played the fight. I don't know if there's an easier way to do it or a quicker way, but once you kill one of them, he absorbs the power of the other. So I kind of did it. So because the fire guy was awkward to fight because his hitboxes on his fire seemed weird. So I killed the lightning guy first and then went for the fire guy, simply because you kind of ticked at each other. You kind of ticked over health bars progressively, but because how awkward his hitboxes were, his health bar went down slower because you had to pick your windows in a much more slower time period. So his health would be low when you fought him with the lightning abilities as well, but it was still low enough that it didn't really matter. You could take him very easily. But it's pretty much a one-on-one with two bosses. So it's so far the best dual boss fight on the channel. I'm not going to say it's the best dual boss fight in Souls history. It's technically not even a dual boss fight because they don't fight with each other half the time. Like 90% of the time, one of them is up on a rafter. But I digress on that. The boss fight is fine. It's not special. They're literally the same enemy, but one's fire, one's lightning. And they have very abusable moves, just like every other boss in this game. Eventually they go down, and then we can go do the Citadel bit of the game to the final boss. Now, Sweet Bippy, I did not fight my way through the Citadel, so you get in and everyone calls you a traitor for not killing the Rhogar god. The problem is, once they call you a traitor, they start attacking you, and Jesus Christ, they hit hard. So eventually I just kind of winged it and booked it to the end. The first time you do it, it despawns all the enemies so you can fight the guy I don't like who's the head of the army. But second time, it doesn't give you that privilege, so I ran past him. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but that gets me a pacifist ending at the end of the game for not killing him. Because I ran past him because I didn't want to fight anymore. I was done with this game. I just wanted it to end. And it got me a good guy ending. So I'm going to take that as a big dub for me and move on to the final boss. The difficulty spike on this thing is insane, by the way. Compared to the last two bosses, the Annihilator didn't even put up a fight. The Lost Brothers are abusable at best, downright easy to beat at worst, once you understand their attack patterns. And because they're a dual boss fight that attack separately, they don't pose much of a threat. Then the judge shows up, and Jesus fucking Christ, he hits hard. Some of his fucking timings make no sense. You've got to be precise with some of the dodges. Dodge too late, and you get hit with his other hand that isn't even attacking, which makes no fucking sense. His laser beams, I still don't understand how you fucking combat them. This fight is such a difficulty spike to the last 2 to 3 bosses, I would argue 4 bosses that you fought so far. It's insane how much of a fucking difference this is to the rest of the game. It's insane to me. Also, his gimmicks are fucking out of here, but we'll go a bit more in depth into this. So first phase isn't very difficult, it's just dodge timers down to peak. One of the things I do struggle with this boss is that, again, he's a bit of a bulking beefcake and you can't roll through his legs. Also, attacking his right side leg will teleport you through to the front side of his body, and you can't just back out of that, so you end up taking hits sometimes from his ground pound because the rolls aren't very consistent. Also, trying to roll away from the ground pound backwards doesn't work while locked on because you end up rolling sideways. Eventually I found out you just walk away sideways and you dodge the ground slam, making the first phase a piece of cake. Second phase, however, was a bit of a problem. He doesn't gain a lot in the second phase move-wise, except he now gains the gimmick of A, being able to jump up on the balcony, and B, summon goons. His goons are a problem because how many are left depends how much he heals at the end of that section. While you're trying to make sure he can't heal and combat that side of the gameplay, he's also firing fucking lasers at you that chunk your health bar. 3 hits will down you and kill you from full health. So I can't make a mistake. 3 beams will down me. Also, I'm being attacked by his goons, and I need to make sure I kill enough of them so that when he jumps down, he doesn't heal all the damage I've just dealt to him. Means this boss fight absolutely sucks fucking dick trying to combat all fucking elements of it in the second phase. In the end, I wrote fuck on it and had to find a way to dodge the laser beams and just let him heal. My idea was, when he's summoning them, he stands still. I get a full flurry of attacks off. Then when he jumps down to heal, I can also get a full flurry of attacks off. And sometimes he'll kill his own men with the laser beam. So I needed to create a strategy that worked for me. I found out that if I just run right underneath the balcony, you only get tagged by the laser and lose little to no HP. So all I did was run under the balcony, hope he tagged some of his men when he tried to laser beam me, and then just keep hitting him. Hit him when he summons the goons, hit him when he drops down the heal from the goons. He technically doesn't heal a lot of HP anymore, so I don't lose anything, and I'm not trying to struggle against his laser beams. This is the only way, practically, I could fight this boss without wanting to rip my fucking hair out. It's such a difficulty spike, and the dodging and rolling isn't fast enough that you can see the laser beam come and dodge it before you get hit. It's not a good system at all. I don't like it in the slightest. I hope that this is never seen again.
in the second game. This should not be in the game. I don't think he has a challenge. Oh, he does have a challenge. Defeating him without letting the boss kill any infested, including fire attacks from the balcony or through life leeching on drop down. So I failed that challenge straight out. And you know what? I couldn't care in the fucking slightest. I'm not getting that challenge done ever. That is such a cringe fucking mechanic and a gimmick. I never want to see it again. The boss fight overall is somewhat easy. It's mostly hard because one mistake will cost you your life, so you've got to be careful and pick your attacks properly and easily. One string of combos will put you down for life, and then you got to start the whole system again, and it's not worth the fucking hassle. But eventually the judge does drop. I'm fucking happy he does, and we finally get the ending cutscene, which we can cycle all the way back to the beginning of the video, where the hand moves. The mountain fingers move to show it's an actual hand, which isn't cool in the slightest anymore because I've seen it's already a hand, so that does nothing for me. And the game kind of ends on like a Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4 style fucking slideshow of the things I did, which was I killed the boss without the rune equipped. I took the world into my own hands and restored balance. I sent the woman home. I ignored some random fucking trials and tests from some old guy. I think it's the monk I chopped his arm off from, but I couldn't tell you if that was true or not. I was a pacifist and didn't kill the people that didn't need to be killed, and that's it pretty much. I can't remember any of the other endings that I may or may not have got, and that's the game. It ends and it instantly puts you in New Game Plus, so I can't even go back and do the DLC if I wanted to. And that's the Lords of the Fallen. It's not even Dula, it's just Lords of the Fallen. That's it. This game it's not worth it. It's just not worth playing. The beginning 3 bosses is all it's worth up to, and the Guardian. Everything else is either boring, the areas are annoying, or they just flood shit in to try and make the game longer. It's not worth the time or effort, especially if I don't think the next game is a sequel or needs this game to be played at all. You don't need to do it to yourself. I can't recommend enough to not try this game out. If you think from the looks of it you would enjoy it, then you probably would. But it is slow, painful, and it's so hard to get into the game. But when all is said and done, that is the game. From start to finish, obviously I missed a lot out, so I could make this video shorter than an hour. I hope I succeeded in my goals of shorter than an hour. That's all the main bosses and main areas, except from the DLC. If the video gets enough views and likes, I will go back and do the DLC and some side quests. I will punish myself a bit more. But yeah, it is what it is. For the first Souls-like game, it does a job. I just don't think it does a good enough job to be worth trying to play through. The only way I could recommend it if the game was going to be linked to the new one in any way, but it seems like they're trying to distance themselves by even having the same name to write this one out of existence, if you will. So I look forward to the new game. It seems to be learning from the mistakes that this one has made. Hopefully they can do it right this time, because the weapons and the enemies are cool and they look nice, and the Rogar element is cool. The story is decent from what I could understand of it. The areas look like, I like the look of them. I like the look of the enemies. It's just the gameplay and the way they tried to make it Metroidvania-like that just doesn't sit well with me in the slightest. But yeah, that's Lords of the Fallen. I can't recommend it. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. I hope the new game is good. I can't wait to play it on launch. I hope I don't have to make In a Sad State on it. I am so hopeful I don't have to make In a Sad State on it. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.